This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We had it all this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Screaming at the TV season is back. That said, whether it was good or bad, what it does mean is that what appeared, at least to me, to be one of the longest off seasons ever is finally over, with the NFL and college football all back together. We're going to touch on it all as we welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. As always, our all-star crew behind the glass with us as well, producer Brian Ortega. Lots of NFL and college football on deck today, as expected. Also, a little bit of Major League Baseball as a big 4-game set in the NL East kicks off today between the Phillies and Mets. But I want to start with a congratulations to you. The blowout of the Sunday slate was your Colts against the Miami Dolphins.
You know, it was, but I'm going to take this moment and push that aside.
Wow.
And for once in my life, at least on the lifetime of the show, I'm going to do something nice. You had quite the weekend. You were out there at Mississippi State in Starkville, where, again, they just discovered electricity, it would seem, probably about within the last 6 months. And I will say, Stormathan, you did a tremendous job.
Oh,
you did a tremendous job in that final interview. I don't want this to get to your head, so this will only last 30 seconds. But we have to address the elephant in the room. What the hell was that like? Because that was great.
Dude, I'm going to be like, that was probably the coolest post-game environment and just game environment that I've ever been to.
Sure.
Mississippi State knows how to bring it. The cowbells had that entire building vibrating throughout the course of the day. They had this dominant first half, up 17-0 at one point. I wondered how it was going to go when ASU turned things up a notch in the second half. They come all the way back, have this long drive at the end, and you're feeling a little bit of tension in the building. And then
that happens.
Blake Shapen throws this awesome touchdown to Brendan Thompson. They seal it with a pick. Everything worked out for them. That was the first time I have ever seen a goalpost just kind of float by me on the field. Also, the crowd storm, it was a blast. It was one of the most fun moments I've ever had on a college football field.
I apologize. I'm not familiar with the entirety of your career. Is it your first crowd storm?
No, I've had a couple.
Okay.
I had Baylor and TCU last year on a walk-off field goal. And I had one when Stanford beat Oregon a couple years ago when Oregon was the number 3 ranked team in the country. Not quite the same.
Yeah.
Not quite the same.
No.
SEC environments, dude, they're just different. It's true. It is.
No, I'll say, look, I'm an arrogant man who believes he is very good at everything. I don't know if I would have been able to do what you did on the final interview. It was very good.
You could. But thank you. I appreciate it. It was
congratulations on the moment.
I appreciate it. And it was very chaotic at the end because my cameraman was on the other side of the field and the SID for Mississippi State was calling me, asking who I wanted. We couldn't hear each other, but we ran out in the field. We found Blake Shapen, and it was a blast. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
But yeah, go Colts. Screw everybody who bet on the Miami Dolphins, baby.
Dude, monster. 49ers got a win, too, albeit that
wasn't great.
Wasn't my favorite game of the weekend. But let's get into it. We have so much to discuss. Here is the rundown, as always.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
Couple great guests on deck today. Tyler Forness is going to join us in a half an hour. Covers the Vikings on A to Z Sports. We got Monday Night Football coming up tonight. Vikings laying 1.5, taking on the Bears. Total getting some under money, down to 43 actually here at Circa. In an hour or two, VSiN betting analyst Josh Applebaum for more on how that market is shifting.
Really excited to talk to Tyler, get some insight on the Vikings. Wide receiver position is really interesting. I was on with our friend Kendall Valenzuela earlier today on Sirius on Fantasy, and talking a little bit about this game from a prop perspective. I've got a couple of prop angles that I think are worth discussing, but definitely want to see how Tyler thinks this wide receiver snap count might shake up.
Tyler, also a Florida guy. We talked about the Mississippi State upset of ASU, but how about Florida goes down to South Florida as an 18.5-point favorite? So his thoughts on the status of Billy Napier and, of course, big game this week against LSU as well. Speaking of college football, we got Do You Approve This Move? Week 2 lines already on the move, spreads and totals. You and Tim Murray were on the air yesterday as a lot of those numbers were dropping, and rumor has it you've already made a bet.
Yes, Tim and I talked about this, and in fact, with the theme of Do You Approve This Move, when we talked about this, it was a worse number, so it's moved in a direction I did not think it would. So very much looking forward to breaking all of these down, and I will not quit. Well, I was never really on them, but I will not quit one team.
And I am so glad that we have real meaningful games in the NFL. Yesterday was wild. We didn't have the Survivor mayhem, though, that we had a year ago where everybody was knocked out. You see all 69 Grandissimo entries still alive here at Circa. Each of the top 7 and what was it, 9 of the top 10 most selected teams all securing a win yesterday. Did get sweaty for some. We had the Arizona Cardinals. You get the news that Kyler Murray has an illness pregame. That line moves 2 points. They ended up pulling it out. The Broncos, not an easy day for them against the Titans. Eagles on Thursday Night Football was a nail-biter. Jags and Commanders, never in doubt, but the Bengals and Steelers 1- and 2-point games there. And how about Sunday night freaking football with what transpired last night with the Bills pulling it out?
Yeah, I don't even know where you really start. Favorites really took the day, so we know that that's kind of attributing to why none of these survivor injuries, we didn't really get any chaos, but it's hard not to start with last night on Sunday Night Football. Up by 15 points and looking like they're going to run away with it. And it's funny because, so it's on late last night, and I'm tempted when they go up by 15 to go, you know what, like, let's go start working on something else. Like, let's rewatch one of these games. Let's do this. I'm like, nah, like, these games get kind of crazy. I'll keep it on. Let's stay focused on this. And even when they turn away the 2-point conversion, I'm still like, I don't know, man. They got some timeouts. Let's keep watching this. That's ridiculous, the way that the Ravens blew that game, given what they were able to do on offense. The decision-making from John Harbaugh, which I think maybe was a little bit of gun-shy nature, considering some of the times in which he's gone for 2 after scoring late touchdowns to win games, maybe not going for it there near the end to potentially seal the game. I even asked my wife, who's not a big football fan at all, I said, what would you do in this scenario? Would you go for the win, or would you let him get it back? And even she goes, I'd go for the win. I was amazed by the decision-making there at the end, but credit to the Bills. They go back, they get the win. I still feel confident in my proclamation. The Ravens are the best team in the NFL, but that's a bad loss for a Ravens team that has a litany of them under John Harbaugh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that decision a little bit more later on in the program. But since 2000, teams in Buffalo's position, by the way, down 15 in the final 4 minutes of regulation, 3 and 2,312 entering Sunday.
So just give me that one more time. Three wins.
2,312.
2,312. So tweet.
If you are down 15 points or more in the fourth quarter, yes.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I was just a little confused by the wording of it. 2,312 losses.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's not good. Does that include Buffalo now? Or is Buffalo 4?
That's 4.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So I saw that on ESPN this morning. And also per ESPN Analytics, at the 4:48 mark in the fourth quarter, Ravens had a 99.1% probability to win the game. Also, how about
Matt Humans would flip out. I would always throw those at him.
He's
like, how are those right?
They're
I'm like,
worst.
because the 0.9% happened. You don't understand. That's the probability that the 0.9% actually occurred.
How about Sean Perry, by the way? Did you see the tweet to Jeff Benson?
Yes,
For anybody who missed it, so Jeff Benson, director of operations here at Circa, Sean Perry tweets out his $200,000 Ravens -1 ticket with how much more do I got to win till I shut down your guys' sports book, and I'll give you guys a $1,000 discount for early payment of $27.13, but it's already over.
I don't know what's more embarrassing, that or selling picks for the first time and your one pick of the week being the Dolphins. But I don't know who that would be.
Shots fired. How about Josh Allen? So I feel like, especially coming off of the MVP season, he was everything you wanted and more, especially in that fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought Collinsworth was kind of annoying throughout the game. But his phrasing of, like, Allen being in full control of this offense, knowing what he wants to do, everything. Look, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I think this game is exactly what we expected, in the sense of these are the 2 best teams in the AFC. Mm-hmm. You can throw in the Chiefs maybe in that regard, but didn't really look great in Brazil. And so these are the 2 teams we expect to be duking it out potentially in an AFC Championship game. Those teams are never down. And for a team with Josh Allen at quarterback, he's proven to be, I think, one of those dudes that when you're in my scenario, which was like many others, do I turn this off? No, you don't. Because football is becoming more and more, especially when you're like some of these high-end offenses, it is becoming more like basketball every day. You know, I know a lot of people don't really like the whole variance of what basketball brings, especially when you're playing in the NBA. But to me, that is, these 20-point comebacks in basketball, they can happen like that because of the way that you play the sport now. It's the same thing with football nowadays. Especially
with teams like that. And I think for the Bills, the arrival of Josh Palmer, I think, was significant to add another downfield threat. You see Keon Coleman, who has a career day. Khalil Shakir was great. It seemed like all of the surrounding elements were there. And the Ravens offensively had a really good day.
Yep.
And I think this is the thing. I really felt for Derrick Henry, who was awesome in this one. For him to have that fumble that you just can't have.
Can't do it.
And the momentum then that Buffalo starts to gain. It blew my mind. I was stunned that him, of all people, ended up being the one to do that.
And I don't think we should mask, or cover up the issues that Buffalo had defensively.
Sure.
I mean, this is why I brought up. It's why I kind of pushed and maybe put my foot down a little too strongly one Friday or Thursday when I was like, I want the Ravens on our millions entry, was because I think that this team is that much better. And I was right for a vast majority of this game. And what I thought would come to fruition would, which is, look, Buffalo defensively, I thought had some questions coming into this when you're talking about how they stack up against a team like Baltimore. And we really saw that their front seven was getting moved by that offensive line. Yep. The secondary was letting guys like Zay Flowers run absolutely wild and not really covered. I don't think that will be an issue against some of the lesser teams they will play. I think they have the Jets next week. But I do think that when you're talking about taking on the powers that be, Cincinnati, Baltimore, maybe Kansas City, when they have their full complement of weapons, that might be a problem for Buffalo.
Worth noting, so obviously the total soars over in that game. Totals on the day, though, 2-11, and the two totals that go over is Ravens-Bills, which actually had the highest total of the day, so you expected points. Jets-Steelers, the other one, which had a total of 38, and with most sports books was the most bet game to go under, 34-32 final in that game.
Yep. So we were laughing about it with Tim and I. The first half total was 19. And I think it was 19-18 at halftime. Like the Jets had 19 on their own.
Well, and I was saying, do you think we're even going to get 38? What are these offenses going to do? I mean, what a day for both Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. You mentioned we'll talk about that a little bit more, but you mentioned the Circa Millions. Also, another thing here for anybody who's in these against the spread contest. But here at Circa, the 5 most picked sides in the Circa Millions contest: Giants, Falcons, Broncos, Seahawks, Lions. 0-5.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, consensus picks in all contests, not great. The super contest in college, 3-10-1 through 2 weeks for the consensus picks.
Wow. Okay, we got to step aside. First time out of the day here on Money Moves. When we come back, more thoughts and reaction to what we saw week 1 of this NFL season, which, by the way, continues tonight.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The NFL season is officially underway, and the edges go to those with the best data. VSiN Pro delivers real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits so you can see where the public and sharps are putting their money. Added an email recapping all the daily best bets from our show hosts and guests, plus 24/7 video on the VSiN Watch app, exclusive pro tools at VSiN.com, and you've got everything you need to stay ahead all season long. You can sign up now for just $9.99 or save 50% when you go with the annual subscription. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe today. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you back here on Money Moves. And let's keep the NFL talk rolling. Week 1 not quite yet in the book. Still do have Monday Night Football upon us with the Vikings and Bears. We'll dive deeper into that game with Tyler Forness in about 15 minutes. But continuing to react and take away what we learned from week 1, what stood out to you most?
All right, there's a couple of things. First off, I opened the show with some humility, admitting that I think that you did something that I don't believe I could do in an environment that was very tough. And
you want me to do the same for you now?
Sure. Okay, go ahead.
I wish that I would have taken your advice and taken the Indianapolis Colts and Survivor so that we had a no-sweat pick.
Yes,
well
that's right.
done, sir.
Yeah, here's the thing, because my humility leads to I might have been wrong about the Miami Dolphins. They might be worse than I actually thought. Holy crap. Did you watch that yesterday? Yeah. The Miami Dolphins absolutely no-showing against the Indianapolis Colts starting right away. Where do you even start with a result like that? We could start with Tua Tagovailoa and this offense. Tua with 3 total turnovers in the game, 2 interceptions, and a lost fumble. Inaccurate, had no idea where he was going. Pressured out the wazoo. His offensive line was absolutely abysmal. Some of the pressure numbers for Tua Tagovailoa in this game: under pressure on 6 of his dropbacks, a 29.5 PFF passing grade. Committed 2 of his 4 turnover-worthy plays. Had a couple of dropped interceptions as well. This defense, I think that there is, because I've been asked, I did a couple of hits today, and the question was, so are your Colts good? Are they? I think there's a reality in which they're a division winner. We've talked about this a lot on this show, but I will refrain from really celebrating a ton outside of laughing at the people who were against this team. I was by myself, me and Wes Reynolds, was the fact that I think this Dolphins team is bad. You know that. We did our futures draft. I've discussed it with you. I've
potentially worst cornerback room in the NFL.
Which, by the way,
showed up.
Yes, and they lost a corner yesterday, too, in Storm Duck, so that's going to be another thing. So I don't know what this means for Indianapolis, but I do know that it means that this Dolphins team is exactly what I thought they could be. I watched the post-game presser as well from Mike McDaniel. I don't know, man. Like, I don't really exactly see leader of men when I'm watching it. He's just staring down at the podium, answering the questions. Did a little of kind of throwing under the bus, but then, like, backed it up with but, I got to get them to do that. I just don't see this thing really working out at this point. Tyreek Hill's arguing with them on the sidelines. What am I supposed to believe with this team moving forward? Having said that, I think they're live next week against the New England Patriots, but that's like a whole nother thing. I think the Dolphins are what we kind of thought, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just worse.
And I would really love for that to be true and for that to continue as somebody who has a lowest scoring team bet at 30-1 on the Miami Dolphins this season. Good start to that, which is 8 points on the board. But to go back to the defense, I mentioned in the commercial break, the Miami Dolphins, first team this century, allowing points on their first 7 drives of a game. So worthwhile there. And Danny Dimes showed up. And I know that you and I have talked a lot on this program about the Colts' decision ultimately to go with Daniel Jones instead of Anthony Richardson. And I do think it's just an important sidebar to this. For as good as Daniel Jones played, it was never really an argument of who was going to be the better option week 1 or moving forward. It was just about the philosophical nature of the Indianapolis Colts. But good for Daniel Jones, 22 of 29, 272 pass yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing, first player in Colts history to do that in their debut. 22 completions, 7 of which went to one Tyler Warren. Let's go.
Which leads to my next point here. Betting market needs to adjust on Tyler Warren. I was really surprised. He went over his receptions prop, went over his receiving yards prop. If you remember at the beginning of the year, his receiving yards total for the season was 525.5, close to 575.5. He's already got 76 for the year. I was really surprised about the muted expectations in the betting market for Tyler Warren as a whole. And this dude showed out in a really big way. He is a dangerous pass catcher. He had 9 targets, so he caught 7 of those bad boys. This dude is the real deal. We'll see what happens with Loveland, who was drafted ahead of him. But I think in terms of the Colts getting, I mentioned this, I think it was Friday or maybe it was Sunday. All these days blur together at this point right now. But the tight end position has been a black hole for the Indianapolis Colts for a very long time. This might be the best guy they've gotten since Jacob Tamme. It's for sure the best tight end they've had since Dallas Clark because they haven't really had a good one since then. This is huge. And I think Warren, I'm going to be really curious to see how the betting market adjusts some of his receiving props as we head into the game against Denver next week.
He's my backup tight end in fantasy. Brock Bowers is my starter. And with him getting injured, I was like, oh, thank God. But it appears Brock Bowers should be okay, at least according to reports right now. What else did you have in your notebook?
Well, by the way, I wanted to point this out. The highest run blocking grade for the Indianapolis Colts was Tyler Warren as well. So that was absolutely incredible because he does it both ways. Like, he is a run blocker and he is a pass catcher, which is absolutely great. All right, let's go on to the next point here as we have a couple of them. How much do we have to downgrade your San Francisco 49ers? That was a okay performance. 17-13 victory against the Seattle Seahawks. I don't want to make fun of your kicker.
How does Jake Moody have a job?
We won't make
I
fun
don't
of
like
the
to
kicker.
call for people's jobs, but what are we doing here, San Francisco? Have we not learned our lesson, by the way? You miss a 27-yarder? And it's consistently. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The floor is yours. Go. This is what it's for.
It blows my mind because it's every week. We were joking with Wyatt Tomchek, a producer here, he's a Packers fan and he's a Michigan guy, and all that we text about basically is he texts me when Jake Moody makes an extra point, and I'm like, wow, he actually did something right. All of our text conversations are about me hating on Jake Moody and him loving him. I can't do it with this guy anymore. How are we an NFL franchise and we have these types of kicking issues year after year?
I feel like you might want to also direct some of those negative feelings towards your quarterback.
Wasn't a great day. Even the game-winning touchdown.
It was a pick.
I thought you should have heard me scream at the television. I go, no, yes, what a turn of events.
That was not only that to invoke basketball one more time. That's the epitome of the logo. No, yes, 3. Because you're like, what? The second he lets it go, I'm like, bro. What are you looking at right here?
I was full night at the Roxbury with the no yes.
Yep. Was it Tonjes who gets it or whatever his name was? Good for him. Comes in.
Who? Yep, exactly, because George Kittle scores an early touchdown, but he goes down with a hamstring injury.
So that's why I wanted to bring this up because I feel I don't want to overreact because I think Seattle defensively is a relatively solid team. But for the 49ers, you don't really like a ton of what you saw from Brock Purdy. The special teams kind of looks like a nightmare. I think the defense is fine. but they also faced the Seahawks offense, which was dedicated to running the ball, especially on early downs. I think I'm going to lose this Seattle number 1 seed in the San Francisco number 1 seed in the NFC, because I watched that team and I came away thinking, man, it feels really lucky that they got that win over Seattle.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more. Let's shift gears to another team that was very lucky to escape with the win. The Cincinnati Bengals finally turned the narrative around. Not really, with a 1-point win against the Browns. Here's Zach Taylor on escaping Cleveland with a victory last night.
I thought the defense did a great job rising up there on the last several possessions of the game. You know, we weren't putting them in great spots, and they just rose up. They got 2 turnovers, so to be able to win the turnover battle the way that we did, that's a key stat in winning week 1, because we knew there was going to be adversity. There's always adversity week 1. There's always adversity when we play Cleveland. There's always adversity when we're on the road at Cleveland. It's never simple. And so for our guys, just to find a way to win it there at the end, proud of them. The best outcome of this game was 1-0. Forget about the stats. Forget about the score. Forget about how it all played out. The best outcome could have been was 1-0, and we're proud of that, and then we'll make some corrections and move forward.
I want to forget about the stats, but how many yards do you have in the second half, in the third quarter?
How many?
Wasn't good. 7.
No, 7? Okay.
It was 7.
Yeah, that was one of my points. So for the notes, this is who we thought they were. Should have lost the game. If I'm the biggest Joe Flacco detractor you'll find. Flacco was let down by his receivers. You had 2 wide open drops over the middle of the field. You had 2 interceptions that were thrown mainly because they careened off the corpses of your receivers and into the hands of Cincinnati Bengals defenders. This is a team in Cincinnati that should be 0-1 yet again. And yet they got lucky. I mean, maybe you're due, I guess, when you're, 1-11 in the first 2 weeks of the season. But that was a loss through and through. Statistically, that is a loss for this team, but yet they come away with a victory.
A win's a win, and I guess you're going to take it that it's in that column for you in an important division game and a team that has historically had success against you, whatever. But, like, there are no moral victories in that one if you're Cincinnati. You get the W, and you are not feeling good about yourself moving forward, in my mind.
I mean, loaded question in the last 45 seconds. You noted the struggles for Cincinnati against Cleveland and Joe Burrow in the big picture. How much of this is just that defensive scheme matching up well?
I don't know. What do you think of the Bengals' offensive line?
Yeah,
like,
but they lost a body, too, during the game as well.
So I think that's a big part of it as well that I would be very concerned for if I'm Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, that segment went by way too fast, and that just goes to show that we have so much to get into as the NFL season is officially underway, college football as well. We are going to have Tyler Forness join us coming up next. A to Z Sports covers the Vikings very closely. Get his thoughts on tonight's Monday Night Football contest as we see somebody making their debut in primetime. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Week 1 in the NFL has been a blast, and it ain't over. Monday Night Football still coming up tonight. Vikings, Bears going head-to-head in Chicago. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, and to help us break it all down, Tyler Forness joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Get the Vikings side of things. Covers the Vikings very closely. A to Z Sports, Vikings First and Skol. Also host of The Real Forno Show. You can follow him on X as well, at The Real Forno. And Tyler, let's jump right into this because we were kind of talking over the break. So much of the conversation around the Vikings and what they will be this year is centered on quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who's set to make his NFL debut tonight. What are your expectations for him, not only tonight, but season long?
I just want to see good process. And whenever it comes to a young quarterback, I want to see them continuously doing the right things at the right times. How are all those mechanical tweaks that they've made over the last 15 months? Is he still consistent with that? Because we saw a little bit of consistency, a little bit of, hey, we're not all the way there yet throughout the course of training camp. But it's significantly better than what it was last year, and we're seeing a little bit more zip on the ball. We're seeing more control and better placement. Can he continue to do those things? Can he continue to stay cool under pressure, which he flashed in the preseason against the Texans back a few weeks ago, and he showed a lot when he was at Michigan. Are we going to see that good process continue? I want to see those things because Soldier Field is always a weird game. First start, Monday Night Football. Things could get a little goofy. So can he just control what he can control, do the right things, make the right reads, throw the ball accurately. If he does those things, I'm going to feel really good coming out of the game.
Tyler, can you walk us through the history of Ben Johnson versus the Vikings and maybe some things we could expect when he was the offensive coordinator for the Lions, things the Lions did well against Minnesota, maybe things that the Vikings did defensively well against Johnson's offense?
It's a really weird conversation when you talk about Ben Johnson against Brian Flores, because Ben Johnson just cooks him. 4-0 in their 4 meetings since Brian Flores took over as the defensive coordinator. In each game, they've scored 30 points. The one thing that really intrigues me about this matchup is that there's no Jared Goff. And I think we can all agree that Caleb Williams has more raw talent than Jared Goff. But what Goff did really well was execute those blitz counters. So whenever Brian Flores would send a blitz, because his base rush is 5 pass rushers, that's considered a blitz by NFL terms. Goff just had this innate ability to find Amon-Ra St. Brown 6 yards down the field in a hole and just pepper it in. And they would continue to do that. Him, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, swing passes to the running backs. And they just had all these beautiful counters. Caleb Williams doesn't do that kind of stuff well. In fact, I thought it was a really bad matchup with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams based on what we saw in Detroit. So is he going to be able to do some of that? Plus, with the Vikings having new defensive tackles, they've never had a pass rush up the middle. They've always had to create with their edge rushers, including the NASCAR package with 4 of them. Last year, they had 49 sacks. 4 of them came from defensive tackles. How is that going to impact how Brian Flores tries to attack Ben Johnson? And if he pulls back on those blitzes, is that going to make things even more difficult? And is that the key to being able to overcome this demon that Brian Flores has? I think those are the really interesting elements. Plus, you don't have the same offensive line you did in Detroit. The offensive tackles are questionable at best. And the running back situation, DeAndre Swift has never been consistent in his entire time in the NFL. Can he be? Do they have something in Roschon Johnson or Kyle Monangai? I think those are huge question marks, and they could be key to the Vikings picking up a victory.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what this looks like. And obviously, we got our first glimpse of life after Ben Johnson with the Lions yesterday. How much of what he was able to do with Detroit is able to translate to Caleb Williams and this Bears offense, TBD. And we even heard Ben Johnson say throughout training camp that he's put a lot on his plate. How does that ultimately come together? As you kind of broke down the head-to-head matchup, were there any immediate matchups that stood out to you for people maybe that are interested in the prop market today? How would you take us through that?
If you have the opportunity to wait, I would wait on Justin Jefferson. If you don't have the opportunity to wait, I'd just take the over. I think the line's currently around 80 yards. One of the reasons I would say that is 2 of the 4 season openers, he's been a starting wide receiver for the Vikings. He's topped 150 yards. And with the questions that they have at cornerback right now, Jalen Johnson might not play with the groin and calf injury. And even if he does, he may be on a pitch count or significantly impaired his effectiveness compared to the all-pro that we know. And then now Kyler Gordon, the really good slot corner, was added to the injury report. And their 4th corner, Terrell Smith, is already out for the season with a torn ACL. So if those guys don't play, you're looking at a situation where Jefferson, who has proven over the course of time to be quarterback proof, where it doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball, he's going to produce. That could just absolutely skyrocket him. So if you can wait until those injuries are out, I would consider taking an alternate line of over 100 yards, because that could give you a significant boost to what your potential earnings can be.
How do the other wide receivers shake out here? I know there's been a lot of, hey, Adam Thielen's back, but the name that stuck out to me, Tyler, was Jalen Naylor, who had 6 touchdowns last year. What could his role be? He's got a pretty low reception yard mark, about 19.5. But outside of Jefferson, what do you think this wide receiver core looks like in terms of action, targets, things like that?
So a lot of people are focusing on the Adam Thielen trade, and for good reason. Jordan Addison's out for the first 3 games. But Thielen was the only wide receiver that they could realistically get for a small price that would give them multiple things. He's already played in this offense with Kevin O'Connell, and he's thrown the last 2 summers with J.J. McCarthy, so there's already an instant rapport when they get together. So you don't have to learn a lot of those chemistry things. There's still going to be some ironing out, but you have a significant advantage. And Thielen is going to be the number 2 right away for this team. Naylor's an interesting one, and I'm really cautious with him, even though that 19.5 number that you mentioned is very low. All it's going to take is one dig route over the middle of the field, and he gets 23 yards, and that'll hit. but he's coming off of a broken hand that he suffered less than 4 weeks ago when joint practices. He already has drop issues. So is that something as a bettor that you're going to be comfortable with? I'm not 100% sold on that, especially with TJ Hawkinson, who's going to dominate a lot of those third down receptions, and a running game that I believe Kevin O'Connell's finally going to focus on because he's got confidence in two backs and an offensive line that has the potential to be one of the best in the NFL. So Naylor's a really interesting play because all it's going to take is one, especially with him being a vertical threat. But that broken hand leaves me concerned.
Vikings beat writer Tyler Forness of A to Z Sports joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, talking all things Monday Night Football. Okay, so let's look at this spread in total. Vikings laying 1.5 at Soldier Field. Total, seen some under money come in, 43.5. What's your gut feeling on how this plays out?
My gut feeling is this is a week one game, and I think that they're going to end up going over that total. Week one games are just weird, and especially with so many unknowns with what this Ben Johnson offense will be, because we can prepare like it's a Detroit Lions offense, but what are the new wrinkles? There are going to be some significant differences when you consider the fact that he has a completely different personnel group to work with. Along with that, I think this Vikings offense still has the firepower. I see this as more of like a 27-20 game where it may not completely dwarf what that over-under is, but I do think that they're going to go over that total. And I think the Vikings end up getting the win because they're a more balanced team. They have the advantage at a significant amount of spots, especially if those two cornerbacks don't play. If those two don't play, we could see Kevin O'Connell just give J.J. McCarthy the keys and be like, air it out, go crush them, and let's focus on week 2 against the Falcons.
Tyler, real quick, you mentioned the running game. The Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason dynamic has been a big talking point throughout the offseason. How does that play out today?
Historically, with Kevin O'Connell, he has done 2 to 3 series with the starter and then 1 series with the backup. He doesn't necessarily look at it from a snap percentage. He looks at it from a drive percentage. So if the backup only gets 3 plays and it's a 3 and out, they may only play 9 snaps. But if they go on like 2 or 3 10-play drives, they'll get 30. Is he going to have the same treatment with Jordan Mason, who he has called multiple times a 1A, 1B situation? I think this is going to be a more wait-and-see approach to understand how much Jordan Mason's going to dig into Aaron Jones. But I do like him on a 1-week basis because of, I think they're going to really focus on the run game with McCarthy to just make his job as easy as possible. And this offensive line, they can move bodies, especially with the additions on the interior.
Okay, Tyler, only got about a minute left with you, but I know you are a Florida guy, and obviously the Gators upset at home at the Swamp against USF despite being an 18-point favorite. Does Billy Napier make it to Thanksgiving?
The one thing that gives me pause about him being fired, because if there was a competent administration at the University of Florida, he would have already been gone. But this is Scott Strickland's guy. He loves him. And the fact that he got extended is a whole nother can of worms. But Napier refusing to give up play calling could actually be the nail in his coffin. We saw Mike Norvell give it up. Look at where Florida State is now. They look like an emerging power once again. They have all the talent and the infrastructure in the world. But I remember Josh Pate said, you can set yourself up to succeed on Saturdays, but you got to do it. And the way he's coaching, they can't. I think he's gone by the end of the year, and hopefully it's within a few weeks.
Tyler, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And yeah, we did see that report coming through earlier. Napier confirming this morning that he will remain the play caller and has not even considered giving up duties after the upset loss to USF. It only gets harder, by the way, that schedule for Florida. 5 of their next 6 games against ranked opponents. We'll be right back. Time for Call Me Crazy, but after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're like me and you like separating your betting money from your day-to-day money, Edge Boost is here for you. First ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. You get cashback rewards, 100% approval for all of your betting deposits. And when you sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code MONEY, deposit $25. Edge Boost is going to match that deposit for you. Head over to edgeboost.bet to get started today. Again, use that promo code MONEY for Money Moves when you do it.
Put on your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call me crazy, but...
No.
Okay. Oh,
I'm going to go. I'm jumping in.
Wowie.
Okay, here's the thing. I know we have things that are prepared. Crew, we're going to go for a little bit of a screwball here. I want you to go first, but I want you to bring up the one that you think that I believe you're absolutely insane on.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that it's the call me crazy,
yeah.
but is Aaron Rodgers back?
No, God, no. Are you serious?
Come on.
Did you watch the game?
Come on.
Did you watch the game? Do you know what his average depth of target was in that game? 5 yards downfield. Of the 240, you can tell I'm prepared for this. Of the 244 passing yards he had, do you know how many were yards after catch? 170. The dude did nothing. He did absolutely nothing in that game.
You know what? Only quarterback with 4 touchdown passes on the day, 73% completions, and for a team that all they've really been missing is a quarterback who can do the little things, who can actually get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. He's the perfect guy for the job.
You could have done that. DK Metcalf and all of them were catching it within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage and running for their lives.
We talked a lot about the Pittsburgh Steelers this year and how I like their season win total over and how Aaron Rodgers could carry over what he did the back end of last season. Last year, final 10 games, 18 touchdowns, 4 picks. He picked up where he left off. He's doing what he needs to do.
No.
Aaron Rodgers back, baby.
This is why I love PFF. I like nuance. Aaron Rodgers, 244 yards, 73% completion, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8.1 yards per carry, the 24th ranked passer by PFF this week.
You know what? I just think Arthur Smith got a really good plan, and I love it when a plan comes together.
No shot. No way.
Hit me with yours.
We don't know if he's
Your
back or
first
not.
one. Your
Jury's
first
still
one.
out. All right.
Actually, wait, before you go, let's hear from Aaron Rodgers because I loved the post game on how satisfying it was to beat the Jets.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets.
That all said, I do wish you would have covered because that kind of sucked. We had the Steelers in the contest, but is what it is.
Justin Fields played better than him.
Oh, that was another thing. Call me crazy, but I think Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields are like, it all happened how it's supposed to. I think they're in great spots for themselves. Great day for Fields.
Fields, the second-rated passer in the National Football League this weekend, 9.9 yards per attempt, a touchdown. Man, he was great.
On to the next.
Better than Aaron Rodgers.
On to the next.
Some would say. Call me crazy. We can do this really quickly because I think we have news confirming the opposite of it. Call me crazy, but Jackson Dart needs to start week 2. I think we did get confirmation a couple of minutes ago, 20, 30 minutes ago, that it's going to be Russell Wilson again. Yep. We'll see if that's going to be the case. But what was that absolute dreck that we watched over the weekend? Stop. Look, it's preseason. I understand. But Dart is athletic. He's got the big arm. He can run your offense. You need to stop this. I actually don't think Washington is a particularly great defensive team. There were opportunities there for you if you were the New York Giants, if you had a semblance of quarterback play. Hell, you could have even put Aaron Rodgers back there and you probably would have done something.
You're such a jerk.
But you got to start the kid.
Here's the numbers, by the way. 17 to 37, 168 yards. Did not see the field well. Couldn't move the chains. Giants offense had 15 or fewer yards on 5 of their 9 offensive drives with him at the helm. That said, I say you are crazy. Because I don't think you start Jackson Dart just because Russell Wilson is bad. You start Jackson Dart when he's ready to start.
Oh, what does that mean? I hate when people do. What does that mean?
I hate when people do that.
What does that mean?
I think it means Brian Daboll doesn't want to ruin his quarterback before he has an opportunity to see if he can grow and develop a little bit behind the scenes.
But
I
what
like
happens?
that.
It's not it's not a microwave. There's no timer. It goes ding. Jackson Dart's ready.
Every player is different.
No.
Every player is different.
But how do you know? Does he walk into the building one day and go, "Wait a minute, Jackson, you look a little different. I think you're ready today. He's our starter."
I get that it's an overreaction, call me crazy Monday, but you need to relax,
By the way,
baby girl.
Aaron Rodgers just decimal points ahead of Russell Wilson over the weekend.
Okay, call me crazy, but John Harbaugh, you do know you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on your team, right? Yeah. Go for it on 4th and 3 with the game on the line. Do we not have respect for Josh Allen? Did he not just win the league's MVP a year ago? Are you not slightly scared that the way he's been cutting up your defense in the 4th quarter, that he might go and score? I understand that if you get stopped there, then yes, immediately already Buffalo is in field goal range, whatever. Take a shot. And for you, my numbers guy, and those of you in the analytics community, the Ravens' win probability was 81.4% if they went for it on their play.
Yep.
By punting, that probability dropped to 73.2. So they had an 8.2% lower chance of winning following that decision based on the numbers.
You are preaching to the choir here when it comes to these decisions. It's mind-boggling that we continue to have these conversations, especially for a guy like Harbaugh, who has rightfully gone for it, but been wrongfully criticized for his decisions at times to go for two at the end of games to potentially win them. This is something that might be controversial to people who watch football. There is value in possessing the damn ball, right? You dictate what happens when you have the football. So to your point, the value, and when you talk about the win probabilities numbers you're talking about, just the act of them snapping that ball on fourth down means the probability of them winning that game is much higher than them punting the ball away. It's absolutely asinine that they decided to kick that ball in that situation.
And it's not like you have Joe Schmo personnel,
Yes,
right? You
correct.
have two of the best players in the entire league on your offense. Utilize them.
Of course.
Okay, go
100%.
next.
All right, let's go with, how about this? Because this is back in the game management line of thinking. Call me crazy, but Sean Payton gets away with this bleep way too easily. What was that? At the end of the game, when you're talking about that fourth down and Bo Nix chucks it to the right sideline for an incomplete that allows the Titans in a one-score game to have some breath of life. And obviously, a lot of people are freaking out about the cover, so we can talk about that as well, because that had point spread implications. But what in the world is that decision? And Sean Payton does this a lot throughout the entirety of his career. It just masked at times because he does have a decent career in terms of winning football games. That was unthinkable yesterday.
You're absolutely not crazy. Unthinkable is the perfect word for it. But I'm still just trying to wrap my head around what we saw from Bo Nix yesterday. 176 pass yards on 40 attempts, I think it was. Just against a Titans team that who thinks anything of the Titans but maybe us liking Cam Ward a little bit, right? Like, this is not a team that anybody has aspirations for. This was the biggest spread of the entire week. Bo Nix is getting raved about for taking that next step. So call me crazy, but maybe Bo Nix is the one that has the sophomore slump. We were talking about how maybe the Commanders and Jane Daniels could take a step back this year. How about all the hype and praise that we have gotten from the Broncos and Bo Nix? Maybe he's the guy that we should be looking out for.
I'm with you, and I think so. Let's zoom this out a little bit. The numbers for him, you mentioned the 4.4 yards per attempt, 4 turnover-worthy plays in the game, PFF passing grade of 38.2. So if we're going to roll with the thought that Bo Nix is maybe not what he was last year, which, by the way, again, look at some of the starts that he had against some of the good teams. He was not great at times. He was very hit or miss in some of those games. So if this Broncos team is worse than what we imagined because of a downward turn in Bo Nix's play, all of a sudden, from a survivor standpoint, a team that you save in your back pocket as you look down the schedule, road game against Indianapolis coming up this weekend. I don't think you're going to use them because I think that's now all of a sudden you look at that and go, oh, maybe they're going to potentially lose that game, even though they're favored on the road. I'm just curious. I was thinking about that as I was watching this game and going over some of the numbers where Broncos were going to be a team you save down the stretch, but they might not be that great.
Maybe not. Broncos, by the way, plus 230 in the division now. Chargers co-favorites with the Chiefs after the way Week 1 played out, plus 190. Hit me with one more before we.
This is a typo, guys, so I apologize. This is supposed to say, call me crazy, but Mike Vrabel isn't a great game manager. We watched a head coach of an NFL team quit. 100%, they quit. They are down by multiple scores, and they decide to punt the ball back to the Raiders on a manageable fourth down. I don't know what Vrabel's thinking, and I will go back to it. I've said it 1,000 times. Everybody gets all excited. I'll use the Stormy mocking voice. Because he went for it, or he got that penalty on purpose that one time as the Titans head coach, he's got to be a genius. He's not. That game management was absolutely awful. Talked about it and almost threw Drake May, or essentially threw Drake May under the bus because of his play. I was amazed by the decision to punt at the end of that game, and they lost that for that reason.
Did you end up playing the Raiders, by the way? Because I know you were high on them all week. So
money line play on them, yep.
Good for you. I'm on the way out. So Bills Packers Super Bowl 17-1. What do you say?
Sure, I'm down. Are we good? You've been kind of.
I'm sorry. You got me fired up.
I was gonna say.
I think I'm really. I'm not even mad at you. I'm just mad at the 49ers, and it's just coming out of me in different ways at this point,
Flashing out. It's all right. It happens.
17-1. Bills Packers Super Bowl.
Like that,
we
it's the
haven't
nicest
even.
I've ever been.
I know. Oh man, I take it all back, but I believe in Aaron Rodgers. Okay, we got to take a timeout. Kicking off hour 2 next on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.